We have spent our nights out in the wild, looking for things that leave footprints. Tonight we come indoors. Because some places are not haunted by a creature at all. They are haunted by a person, and by the thing that person could not stop doing. This is a new road for us. Haunted America. And we begin in California, in a sprawling, beautiful, impossible mansion that a grieving widow kept building day and night for 38 years. They say she did it because the dead told her to, and that if she ever stopped, she would die. Come in, if you dare. Mind the stairs. To understand the house, you have to understand the money, and the money came from a gun. The Winchester rifle. The repeating rifle that they called the gun that won the West. It made the Winchester family enormously, almost unimaginably rich. And into that family, in 1862, married a bright and cultured young woman from New Haven named Sarah Purdy. She married William Wirt Winchester, the heir to the whole fortune. For a while, she had everything a person of that age could want. And then it was taken from her, piece by piece. In 1866, Sarah and William had a daughter, Annie. The baby lived only a matter of weeks before she died. Sarah is said never to have fully recovered. And 15 years later, in 1881, her husband William died too, of tuberculosis. Sarah Winchester was left alone. She inherited around $20 million, a staggering fortune for the time, and a large share of the rifle company, which is said to have paid her about $1,000 every single day. She had lost her family, and she had more money than she could ever spend. Here the story leaves the record and becomes legend. The tale goes that in her grief, Sarah went to a medium in Boston, and the medium told her something terrible, that the Winchester family was cursed, that the spirits of all the people ever killed by a Winchester rifle, thousands upon thousands of them, had taken her daughter and her husband and were coming for her. There was, the medium said, only one way to appease them. She must move west. She must build them a house. And she must never, ever stop building. For as long as the hammering continued, she would live. If it ever fell silent, she would die. Whether she believed it, or whether she simply needed somewhere to pour an unbearable grief. In 1886, Sarah Winchester went to San Jose, California. She bought an unfinished 8-room farmhouse in a wide green valley. And then she hired carpenters, and she put them to work. And the work did not stop. Not that year, not the next, not for the rest of her life. Day and night, in shifts, the hammers rang out across the valley. The neighbors could set their clocks by a building that was never, ever finished. For 38 years it grew. There was no architect and no master plan. Sarah is said to have sketched the next rooms herself, night by night, and handed the drawings to her foreman in the morning. The house swelled into a maze. Wings were thrown up, then torn down, then built again a different way. Towers rose 7 stories high and were reduced to rubble by earthquakes and rebuilt. At its greatest, it is thought to have had hundreds of rooms. Nobody, then or now, has ever been quite sure how many. The house simply grew, like something alive, and refused to be complete. And it grew wrong. This is what everyone remembers. Staircases that climb up to a ceiling and simply stop, going nowhere at all. A door on an upper floor that opens onto a 2-story drop into the garden. A staircase with dozens of tiny steps that rises only a few feet. Windows set into the floor. Windows that look through into other rooms, deep inside the house, where no light could ever reach them. Corridors that narrow until you must turn sideways, and passages that double back on themselves and lead you in a circle. Whatever this house was built for, it was not built for comfort. And through all of it runs a number. 13. Staircases with 13 steps. Rooms with 13 windows. Windows with 13 panes. A wall with 13 wooden panels. 13 bathrooms. And in the 13th, the drain has 13 holes. Sarah's own will, they say, was written in 13 sections and signed 13 times. For a house supposedly built to keep the dead at bay, it wears the unluckiest number in the world like a badge, over and over and over again. At the dark heart of the house, the story says, was one small room. The séance room. Every night, the legend goes, Sarah Winchester would go into it, alone, and close the door. Inside, she would commune with the spirits. She would ask them what they wanted built next, and receive her instructions, and in the morning hand the new plans to her workmen. One way in, several ways out. A private chamber where a grieving woman, every night for decades, is said to have taken her orders from the dead, and then went back to building their endless house. Then, in the small hours of April the 18th, 1906, the great San Francisco earthquake struck. It tore through the mansion. The top floors of the tower came down, and the story says that Sarah Winchester was trapped in her bedroom, sealed in by the shifting house, until her servants could dig her out. She took it as a message. The spirits, she believed, were angry that she had spent too much on the front of the house and neglected them. So she had the damaged rooms boarded up and abandoned, some with the breakfast still on the table, and she moved on and kept building elsewhere. It ended the only way it could. On the 5th of September, 1922, Sarah Winchester died, quietly, in her sleep, in the house she had never finished. And at that moment, the story goes, the hammering finally stopped. Mid-project, a nail was reportedly left half-driven into a wall, and there it stayed. The workmen simply put down their tools and walked away. Within months, the strange, sprawling, unfinished mansion was opened to the public as a curiosity. It has been a tourist attraction and a ghost story ever since. And the ghosts, of course, arrived. Visitors and staff have reported footsteps in empty halls and doors that open and close on their own. A phantom handyman, a thin man with a mustache, seen fixing a fireplace before he fades away. Cold spots. Organ music with no player. Whispers in the séance room. 100 years of tour guides and guests have walked those crooked halls and come out swearing the house is still, in some way, occupied. That Sarah, and the spirits she built for, never really left. So where does it leave us? The skeptics have a gentler, sadder story to tell. That Sarah Winchester was not mad and not haunted, but simply a private, grief-stricken woman with a fortune, no architect, arthritis in her hands, and nothing left to lose. That a house built for 38 years with no plan and no ending would naturally fill up with dead-end stairs and doors to nowhere. That the séance room and the number 13 were embroidered later by the very people selling tickets. And that the truest ghost in that house was never a spirit at all. It was grief, given a hammer, and told to keep building so it would not have to stop and feel. And yet, the stairs really do lead nowhere. The doors really do open onto the dark. And a woman really did spend the last half of her life making sure the hammering never stopped. Some houses are haunted by the dead, and some are haunted by the living, who could not bear to be still. Sleep well, and mind the stairs. This has been the Dark Hearth.